Hey everyone, welcome back to another Life and Drawing podcast. This is podcast episode 50, and I thought for the big 5-0 to do something kind of special, and albeit this is not necessarily that super special. It actually just dawned on me when I thought of, oh yeah, I need to do another podcast episode, and I usually leave the very last bullet points on a post-it note on my tablet on the top corner, and then I saw it was like 49, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna hit 50 episodes. Should be something special-ish, for the 50th episode. And so, so this is, I don't know. I thought, well, instead of the traditional format of me sketching, and which I don't mind, it's just sometimes it's hard for me to balance and navigate the flow, particularly if there's a certain topic or topics that I'm presenting, and if I get really enveloped with those topics, then the sketching is almost like non-existent. And again, this podcast is not for the sketching or the drawing. It's really for the community, and really, most importantly, when it comes to the point where there's folks who want to leave questions for me to attempt to provide some answers or just life guidance, in that sense. But as it stands now, it's just me speaking into a phone into a microphone, and drawing. And so, but then sometimes with the sketching, of course, I've noticed if really connecting with the composition, then my train of thought for the topics can wane. And so, I thought, what, this is the 63rd episode of janitorial services. I know where I'm going with this. I know the color palettes and all that stuff. Might as well just work on this as I present episode 50 of Life and Drawing podcast. And so, all that to say, here we go. So I thought for the 50th episode, I would share some more stuff about myself in the realm of my passion, which is art. And for you to, you can list down in the comment section some of the things that you're passionate about as well, or what are some of your top favorite things in the arena of where you're most passionate. And it doesn't have to be art. So if you're, you love to cook, or you love to sew, or, you enjoy and you love reading, whatever it is, then like, hey, what's your top favorite books? And if you want to break that down into your top mystery, if you read a variety of books, if you just, and you may not read nonfiction, it may just be fiction. So, just stuff like that. So it doesn't have to be art. For me, it is, because that's what I am ultimately most passionate about. And so, so you can indulge me for the next few minutes as we celebrate the big pew, 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 pew. That's my firework sound effects of the big 50th episode of Life and Drawing. So, my most favorite animated movie is The Lion King, hands down. So I have several honorable mentions, say like Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and of course a lot of these are like older, but there are some newer ones, some funny, lighthearted ones like Over the Hedge. I enjoyed that, and then some that you you wouldn't think would be very emotionally invoking and deep, like I think it's called Two Strings. My Guitar, Two Strings Guitar. I even have the soundtrack, but even that the art style is very unique, and the messaging with that, man, I wish I knew the exact title off the top of my head, but it's something with, I think it's Kubu or Kubu and his two strings. And I can't say anything more because the title in and of itself is interwoven with a twist in the story. So just, I don't know, just if you just Google Kubu, I think it's Kubo, two strings, or just cartoon animated movie two strings, you'll you'll come across it. So, but my all time number one, Mount Rushmore, whatever, top three, top five, Lion King. Uh, and I'm not sure if I shared the story before, but when we got the Lion King, and of course, this was back in the early '90s or late '80s, because I'm trying to think how old I was at that time. Basically, we had cassettes. We had VCR, video. What did VCR stand for? I know the V was video. Was it video cassette recording? Was the C for cassette? But yes, it was in those times, not this time of DVDs or Blu-ray and all that stuff, or digital streaming. It was VCR, and the thing with VCRs back then, unless you had like a really high end, and I almost want to say even if you had a really high end, there was only a certain amount of playtime you can get out of that VCR without it overheating and then jamming. And so of course, we were it's kind of relative to say that we were poor, but we had a VCR, but we were. So we got the most affordable VCR you can get. And so, but I remember my sister brought that home, and she would always bring home like the Disney movies, animated movies, and back then it was the whole like jacket where you had the VCR, and then you may have like advertisements, and usually Disney would be like advertisements for Disneyland and upcoming animated films, and then past animated films of VCRs that you can buy and all that stuff, But it was this basically like a folder type thing where it was just a package you clip. You'd open it up, and the VCR was stuck to one side, basically like a size of like a Bible, like an old school Bible, like I want to say maybe a 7 by 5 or whatever type thing. Pretty cool though. I mean, I don't even know if they still have those, and if they will be worth anything. But anyway, it's just so. I remember, man, the first time I watched it. Of course, I just burst out in tears. I mean, spoilers definitely. I mean, if you haven't watched The Lion King, man, I don't know. But I mean, it it was just, as you can see, I I stopped even drawing, just trying to, as I reminisce. You wouldn't think a a story about or a story about animals would just grip you, and it definitely did for me. But it was just fascinating, man. I mean, the musical score, the animation itself, and I think this was one of their marquee. I mean, Disney put out so many great animated movies. I mean, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Snow White, like I said earlier, Pocahontas and the Hunchback of Notre Dame. But I know this one was one of their marquee ones too, as well. Because what was great with those photos and VCR, you had behind the scenes and stuff like that. If you waited after the movie ended, so you could see behind the scenes of the work that was put in. So that was always so fascinating to watch. But yeah, I mean, it was just, yeah, man, and just the story, the dialogue, the characters, Mufasa's passing, Simba's right to passage. Yeah, it was. I mean, it just had everything, and it just had an emotional coaster ride throughout, and so they animated. I know now there's a live action one, and there's been so much mixed reports on that. I didn't even bother to watch it, and so yeah. I mean, I fell so much in love with that movie. I even bought the game when it came out later, and I don't know. I think it was Sega Genesis. I'm not sure, but it was so tough. I don't even think I ended up beating the game. But I was just so all that to say, I in one sitting, I watched The Lion King. I replayed it, I believe 5 to 6 times. And there were a couple times where the VCR just froze because it overheated, and so it just gets stuck in one play, and you just have to let it sit and cool for the gears and the tumblers, well, not tumblers, but the spindles to I guess relax or retract, whatever. But yeah, man, I played it so much, the thing overheated. But yeah, I literally replayed it 5 to 6 times in a setting. I was just so enthralled and just mesmerized by it. But so by hands down, that is number one animated movie. And of course, I mean, that was, like I said, I can't put a finger upon it if it was the late 80s or very early 90s. You would think I would remember that, but I mean, I don't. And so, but yeah, yeah. So since that time, I mean, yes, there have been incredibly great animated films, and then just the technology too as well, of course. So, but that's still my number one. They're very close seconds. Pocahontas is one as well. I think with Pocahontas, I think I read I read like 2 different books on the last of the Mohicans. As part of like school literature, and there was a show, and so there was a lot of material behind Pocahontas that I was familiar with, and enjoyed. But that, I just felt like the animated films back then too just had a deeper level of gravitas where there was true stakes. If and yeah, it's animated. When traditionally you think of cartoons, you think of, hey, something that's comical and to make you laugh, and it's light-hearted. Um, uh, but you could have a grounded cartoon animated piece and have it, you know, have a equally impactful imprint like a live action film. And so, but anyway, but yeah, Lion King. Can't talk enough about it. And I think I ordered it. Hopefully I did, because I'm trying to archive all of the older stuff for my boys. Because nowadays you have certain shows and cartoons that's just like just questionable, and and so and to each his own. Some have no filter. Some folks just whatever. But there's just some where I'm like, no. And I'm not trying to be a hypocrite, because growing up, I totally watched more non-age appropriate shows, and they weren't cartoons. Like, the cartoons were truly genuine for the most part that were on network TV. And talking about cartoons, transitioning, so that was my favorite animated movie. What was what is your favorite animated movie? You can shoot those out inside the comment section. So transitioning into cartoon series, my favorite, and you can probably catch a theme here, was Johnny Quest. Of course, I mean, He-Man, She-Ra, Thundercats, gummy bears, bouncing here and there and everywhere. So, but Johnny Quest, man. And for the longest time before I started recording, I was like, I remember Johnny. And I was like, was it Johnny Cash? And I was like, no, man, that's that's the artist, that's the musician. I'm like, it's not Johnny Cash, but I know it's Johnny. And I was like, man, what is it? Johnny what? Johnny Blade? No, it's not that. And so I went and I was like, okay, cartoons of the 80s. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize at the time that thing aired in 1964. And I'm going to pause for a second, because I have it opened up, and there was only one season, and this is when the first episode aired was September 18th, 1964, and one season. In that season, there was 26 episodes of that one season. And I think by then there were other like spin-offs, like the New Adventures of Johnny Quest. So I'm not sure which one I came across, but what I liked about Johnny Quest, again, like I said earlier, there was real stakes. And for me, it was very much an eye opener of like, oh, wow, okay, people can die, like it, because the heroes and the supported cast, the supported what's the word, protagonists, they can be in real danger, and scenes of being on a canoe or a speedboat and racing through an alligator infested canal, and then seeing like a couple of bad guys getting snatched up, I mean, they will always like cut away. They wouldn't, it wasn't, um, wasn't like Archer level of any type of gore and stuff like that. But I mean, but you would see that dude, that dude just got snatched by the alligator, and that was enough, So you knew that, real stakes, real consequences. And I say in real, I mean it's animated, but in that realm of cartoons, it was like, okay, people can die, and so it just, like I said, just added a certain level of groundedness with the scenes. Because if say like Tom and Jerry, it got old for me. There's funny parts, but it's just like, and again, like I said, even prior to that, so I'm not contradicting myself. Cartoons traditionally is known for, when you think just beyond the animated part of cartoons, but you think of just the funnies, the newspaper. I mean, it's lighthearted, even when a cartoon or a comic strip can be making fun of political stuff and it's satire, but it's always done in a a comedial fashion. So like Tom and Jerry, where anvils are falling on Jerry, and it's just craziness, and But Johnny Quest, man, it just did it for me. Um, it it was it was that show that I was just like, man, yeah, this is it. I can get so I was surprised, like I said, when I was just researching the name, that first season was only it was only one season. Because back in the Bahamas, I mean, we would just get reruns, and so it wasn't like we had public television. I mean, if you were, had enough finances to buy a satellite, and when I say a satellite, I don't mean like the new like Dish and and Direct TV satellites. Those like 10 foot radius satellites. This satellite was like it was like you're at Mars, not Mars. You're at a a NASA observatories. These are like the big, man, 40 foot. Well, okay, no, I'm going crazy. These are like the big, I would say like 8 foot in diameter satellites. I mean, where you need, you know, probably a 50 foot square footage of space, because it would rotate and you would hear it. Like so unless you had one of those, and we did, as my dad got more and more contractual construction jobs and stuff like that. It usually doesn't take me as long to work on, but like I said, see, I'm just getting so enveloped with the topic. I'm not spitting out the artwork, and so yeah, man, Johnny Quest was definitely that was my jam, and I miss it. So I'm gonna see if I can buy and order that off Amazon, and still watch it and see how well it held up. What else? So my all-time favorite animated movie, The Lion King. All-time favorite cartoon series, Johnny Quest. And I'm trying to. I don't have like an all-time favorite artists other than just the time frame. Because a lot of those guys, like we have our shortcomings and our vices, when you read up on them, it's like, whoo, I don't know if I should be. Um, I don't know if I should be emulating you, and it's a tough position because you know, and whatever you're doing, if you're a tennis player and you're gonna look at other tennis players before you, sometimes as a inspiration to become the very best tennis player you can become, or the best tennis player. And so you're gonna look at, if you're a female, you would certainly look at all the greatest female tennis players. Um, um, I'm trying to think of those who even came before Venus and Serena, and I can't put a finger upon it. And I want to say a name, but no, that's a younger. Sharapova, she was younger, but even before, oh man, there's tip of my tongue, and I can't put a finger upon it. But you'll think of the greats. Same thing, male tennis player. You'll think of the Agassiz, um, the Federers, Nadal's, Joker, all that, and whatever, football, soccer, whatever. You'll think of, hey man, these were the people who were aspiring, for me to further pursue this thing that I just fell in love with. And sometimes you may not even know of those folks before you, like I didn't know of Pele before I fell in love with football, which is American soccer, but football, European football. I just fell in love with soccer. Soccer is my first love when it comes to sports, and I didn't know anyone, any famous soccer player. I just knew that, man. I just love this game, and so it wasn't until after getting more into it, learning about, oh wow, the Pelés of the world, and and I'm terrible with names, but the other players, the great player from Colombia had the big afro, and then as time goes on, you have the Ronaldinho's and the Messi's and stuff like that, and then all the other players in between. So the Beckhams and all that. So so yeah, it would I don't know where I was going with this. I think I say, oh yeah, famous, or most favorite artists, visual artists. Yeah, it's really, to be honest, man, it's really hard to. I really can't put a finger upon it. I could think of feats like the Sixtine Chapel. Man, that's an incredible feat. All of the sculpting that was done, that very fine, graphic painting and stuff like that. The ones that are all like splattered and stuff like that. I don't get it. I gotta be honest. I don't really rock with that. So and if I get flack for it, then I get flack for it. Because you just don't. Because art is fast and very. You can have your likes and dislikes, and that's not one of my likes. Just the sprinkle splatter type stuff. Although I'm kind of getting into that, but that's a whole different project in and of itself. But I just gravitated to the fine arts, the fine graphical paintings and stuff like that, the portraits, the landscapes, and it's just, I'm like, wow, man, to have a command over the medium like that, and to deliver, it was always just fascinating for me. And so yes, I really don't. I don't have any particular artist that I even tailor my work after. Now there are artists of the day that I follow, like the Doug to Naples, who's a independent comic illustrator. Created video games as well, and I think another. I bought his whole book, his whole selection. I'm waiting for the Brew Baker. I like his style too as well, and so there's a few that I try to support, and so yeah, but none that I'm like, oh man, I tailor my artwork behind such and such a person. I always just try to walk on my own lane. The whole that cliche dance to the steps of my own drums or whatever. So, man, I was hoping to be able to. Let me just quickly do this because I do have to run. I've got chicken wings in the what do you call that? It's not the crock pot, but it's the other pot. It's the 9-in-1 thing, pressure cooker, not dry, air dryer, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. So I want to get to that. But time just went, and I wasn't really drawing as much. But for you who stuck it out all the way here, thanks for your continued support. Be sure to be great for you to hit that like button and leave a comment as well. And actually, not just leave a comment. If if there's a question or a thought that you have that you want me to discuss, that feedback means more to me than anything, because again, that's really what I want these podcast episodes to be about. Other videos, how-to videos or speed sketch videos will just be uploads, but for the podcast, I really want it to be, as much as it possibly can be, an exchange of thoughts and questions and responses to hopefully, foster. I think I hear my younger one getting up. Foster a community where we can grow and expand together, and so. I don't know why when I start talking, I just I stop coloring. But man, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch the video, and to go down memory lane with me on this 50th episode of Life and Drawing podcast. Truly appreciate that. And it was great to go down memory lane. Just recalling the experience of watching The Lion King 5 times in a row, and still not getting bored of it. And each time still getting hit hard with the tragedies that occurred. That, in my opinion, truly was a masterpiece. So again, I said it so many times, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to follow me on Facebook. If you still do the Facebook thing, it's facebook.com /Michelot Comics, and you can go to my Instagram. That's at Michelot Lully, and my website, which is michelolully.com. And if you want to support what I do, you can go to patreon.com /Michelot Lully. So sorry I couldn't get more work on this done, but thanks for tuning in. I gotta go. My boy's crying. Until next time, grace and peace.